Today's video, we're going to cover a very important topic, and that is film cameras I think that you should look into buying this year. Before we get into this list, there's a few disclaimers I have. I try to include a wide range of brands and varieties. I'm obviously missing a bunch. I'm going based off my experience, and I will give some disclaimers for each individual selection to this list. It's a short list. It's not the full list. There's probably other options. And if you can think of anything that would work, leave that in the comment section down below and give me a quick reason as to why. Don't just say the name of the camera. Tell people why they might want to look into it, whether it's affordable, whether it's fun to use, something you enjoy, just think it looks cool, whatever. Just let people know there's a lot of film cameras out there, and we just don't have the kind of time. I don't have the memory card or the mental capacity to edit that kind of video. Now, this is going to be kind of a sister piece with another video I'll be making called Film Cameras Not to Buy. And if you're watching this, by the time that's been filmed and edited and posted, put a link to it up here. You can check that out as well. Again, just my opinion, just some thoughts I have that I'll be sharing with you. So without further ado, let's get into the list. And this is in no particular order. We've got the Pentax P3, P30, P3N, P3T. Any of those, they're all kind of the same. The reason I'm including these ones in the list is because you do have access to that control dial, so you can select a specific shutter speed, kind of similar to the K1000, although the P3 and all those series require electronics. They are incredibly affordable though, so if you're looking for a beginner 35mm SLR with the K mount and you need to select your shutter speeds, look into those because they are pretty affordable and about a dime a dozen on the internet. Below that, I would say something like the Pentax ME is really great. You don't have the option to control your shutter speeds like you do in the P3, P30 or the ME Super, but it is incredibly compact, super easy to use, and again, you can find one in a lens out there for next to nothing. So those would be two recommendations there. Other recommendations would be something like the Pentax Super Program, Program Plus, or the Super A and Program A. Those are kind of the same in that ME Super realm, except they're a little bit bulkier and they have a few different features to them, but for the most part, they're all kind of the same. And they're all kind of in that same price range. So that's where I would begin for Pentax stuff. Now, if you're looking at more Nikon systems, something I would really recommend looking into is the Nichromat FT, FT2, or the FT3. I don't even know really where to begin here. They are so cheap. It is baffling to me. You can get a body with a lens a lot of the times for like 50, 75 bucks, and they're just going to work. And if they aren't working, just about any shop out there should know how to fix them. Really durable, reliable, and you have access to that F-mount glass, which is pretty much second to none in terms of diversity and quality. So I would give that a look if I was you. Beyond that, if you want a little bit of a higher quality with a bit more range, I think the FM2 is probably going to be the best bet. Fully mechanical, incredibly high shutter speeds. Some of them have some shutter issues with people just wanting to poke their finger through, but beyond that, there's really very few cameras that are better than the FM2. They are going to cost a little bit more, but if you're looking for something that's more autofocus related, but you still want that Nikon look, I would say the F4 and the F100 are going to be your best bets. The F4, dirt cheap, like just dirt cheap out there. Still has that professional grade system, still has a lot of different options that you can shoot with it. It is a bit bulkier, it is a bit large, but overall it's really well built, it's robust, it's got cool styling. And the F100 is kind of a little bit smaller, a little bit more simplified. The only issue I have with those two is that they both rely on AA batteries, and I've just seen some with corroded contacts and battery diarrhea. So that's something to maybe be concerned about, but for the most part, those are my go-tos for Nikon autofocus SLR systems. Moving down the list, we have Olympus. Now, Olympus is a brand I don't talk about a whole lot. Unfortunately, they don't have as much diversity in their lineup as some of these others that I'm going into. So there's not really like a good cheap option, in my opinion. especially in terms of their SLR systems. They do have like the OM10, the OMPC, the OMG, the OMF, the OM2000, and they're fine. I have little gripes and grievances with each of them for different reasons. I think the OM2000 is a perfectly fine camera. It's basically the same thing as a lot of the Cosina shutters. I have a video on it here, but honestly, for the price of an OM2000, it's not that much more to get an OM2 or an OM1, and those are just significantly better cameras, I think. And in my opinion, top of the line in terms of Olympus's SLR lineup. The OM2, I think, is one of the best, has a whole lot of functionality to it, fantastic size overall, access to the OM lens mount, which incredibly sharp glass, very few issues with those, and again, any issues that could arise, just about any technician should be able to take care of it. You might notice I didn't include the OM3, the OM2S program, and the OM4 Ti. I have next to no experience with the OM3. They are, I think, like at least double, if not sometimes triple the price of an OM1, an OM2. Could be a great camera, I just don't know. The OM2S program and the OM4 both can suffer from some of the same electronic issues, and a lot of technicians just don't want to touch them. So for that reason, I kind of tend to shy people away from recommending those because you just don't really know. A lot of these cameras are quite old. Some of them have issues, and the OM4 Ti I have looks like it's been through a sewer. Not great opinion based on my experience there, but the OM1 and OM2 I think are great, and I would just say start out there. Next up, we have the Canon SLR system, Canon A1. Just get one of those. If you can't afford an AE1 or an AE1 program, the prices on those are through the roof bonkers. The A1 has everything that they have and more. There's like 7 different ways you can shoot a Canon A1. Need I say more? Same body styling, maybe a little bit smaller. Really hard to complain about that in my opinion. So check out the Canon A1. If you want more mechanical, something like an FTB, FT, TL, TLB, TX, FX, EF. EF I think is more electronic. There's another one that I always forget. Any of those, though, are pretty solid. The price on those sometimes is really low, sometimes it's a little bit higher. Keep your eye out on those. Alternatives to a K1000, but again, you have access to the FD lenses. I think the A1 program are great cameras. I just think that the FTB a little bit more reliable at times, more mechanical, has a more solid build to it, and I prefer more metal. The A1, though, if you want something like an A1 program, A1 feel, the A1 is just the best answer there. Now, of course, there's the AT1, AV1, AL1. The AL1 has a really bad battery door system. The AT1 is a pretty good camera. It does have 2 on-off switches, which I think is a little bit funky. Other than that, it is really nice internally. If you want a very specific AE1-esque feel, then the AT1 is a good alternative. And the AV1, I guess if you end up with one, I'm sure it's perfectly fine. I've spent very little time working on them or shooting with them, so I'm not the person to ask, but it just never jumped out to me as like such a good camera. I think the A1 is the top of the line in that A series, but still is incredibly affordable for what it is. We can touch on Minoltas very quickly. I don't really have like a good list of Minoltas because the SRT, any of the 101, 201, 202, 102, any of the SRT series are still criminally cheap for what they are. Incredibly durable, incredibly reliable. Access to the SR Rocar lenses, which are so cheap and yet so sharp. You'd be hard pressed to go wrong in that realm. We have what I would like to call premium products. And for me, talking about this, I don't really shoot with a lot of these, so I'm not going to give my opinion on them, but it's something like a Leica M6, M7, the Hasselblad 500CM, cameras like that. We're not really at a time where there's like a cheap alternative to those. And even if we were, I would still kind of recommend you just save up and get the name brand version of them. The Hasselblad's value is going to stay the same. Same with the Leica M6. Same with any of these like premium rated cameras. The value is going to stay the same. So if you really want to jump into the high end of the cameras, those are just cameras that you should buy because, you know, they might have issues here and there. They might cost a little bit of a fortune to get repaired, but at the end of the day, you can probably sell it at some point and still make your money back. So this list wasn't really made and designed for people with the premium products in mind. Again, this is more for just beginners. If you're looking to venture out into different areas, what you should get into. If you want to explore different options, I think that's a pretty good beginning point. If I think up any more, I'll probably add other additions to this list. But I just think that, if you're starting out, you want to get a beginner camera, you want to get something a little bit different, this is a great list. You won't be breaking the bank, and you'll still end up with cameras that work quite well and bring a lot of interesting things to the table. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future content. And of course, if you have any recommendations for others, leave those in the comment section down below, or why you think those cameras are cameras that you should look to buy this year. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.